Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Scott McNally, and you are watching Muscle Minds with Dr. Scott STEVENSON. Guys, we talk a lot about progressive overload here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media, but understand that strength is not a straight line up. Today, we are going to discuss the fastest way to being as strong as possible, and that is through undulating periodization, because sometimes in order to make your best progress, you need to actually take a step into a different direction. If you guys enjoy the show, do me a favor, hit the like button, leave us your thoughts, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because we have several programs that come out each week.
Undulating periodization, I've wanted to make a t-shirt that has your face on it and says that, because I've heard you say that term more than anyone else. Another person who's brought it up to me is David Smith, friend of yours, and I call him a friend of my own now too.
Dave Smith.
Dave Smith. Listen, so I've gotten some advice from him about cues in some of the exercises that I've really been into. And then he really started getting into the idea, putting it in my head that, you can't just go, strength isn't just a straight line. And I've been listening to him because I watched him on back to the Bros versus Pros videos that Dave Palumbo put together years ago.
Yeah,
he came in there, man, and he won those things. That dude was strong,
He's still strong as shit. Yeah.
And I wanted to be strong like that myself. I've never been that level of strong. Mm-hmm. And I know that if I can get stronger, I can grow bigger. And so far it's been working. But the caveat to that is I can get stuck. And I see a lot of people, even clients that I work with, that we've been talking a lot about, progressive overload on the channel. Us and Ron and Dusty talk about it a lot. A lot of our guests do. But it's not just a straight line up. How do you get to be getting your absolute strongest? I'm seeing there's steps to it. There's steps forward and then there's steps back. And how do we figure out how to manage those steps?
So, God, there's so much to this, obviously. It can be, but it's really simple. It's simple in a certain way. I believe that to some degree form follows function. So your best performances in the gym, what you can achieve with all out efforts, are going to be reflected in your physique over time. You go from 200 pounds for 10 reps to 300 pounds for 10 reps. That's going to manifest in the muscles that are moving that weight in those exercises, with that exercise. So that's kind of the bottom line. That's the crib. That's the Too Long Didn't Read, Cliff's Notes version of this. The other way to look at it, or like a big picture look, is there's both a psychological aspect of this and a physiological aspect of this. There's a mind and body. There's, talk about the spirit too, maybe, if we have enough time. Probably not. But so some people just relish psychologically the challenge of going in the gym and having their logbook heckling them, heckling their ego that you're not enough. You can't handle me. I'm going to whip your ass today. Gravity and I are going to make you our bitch. Yeah. And they love attacking in that way. That's people who love to do DC training can grow like crazy with DC training, for instance, because every working set in DC training, aside from, of course, the warm-ups, is progressively overloaded. You're trying to get better. And that is a form of undulating periodization. So periodization means periodizing or choosing different phases in your training to some degree. And that's a really loose general term that's thrown around a lot. I talk about daily undulating periodization in the sense that you would have on a different day exercises that generally would fall into different rep ranges, or the exercise would have different set types in fortitude training. In DC training, you take exercise rotations and undulate those, or basically rotate through those. So your main core leg exercise, thigh exercise, I call it thighs, adductors, hams, quads, glutes in fortitude training, might be a barbell squat, a hack squat, and a leg press. And you would rotate through every workout those three exercises, periodize through those, undulate through those. And hopefully the undulation means that over time you're going up on each of those.
Yeah.
So psychologically, some people want to go in the gym and they can attempt to beat the logbook, to progressively overload every single time. That's on one end of the spectrum. That's DC training. That can work as long as you can periodize with DC training blasts and cruises, so you know how to take deloads and step back. You can't do that, ad infinitum. You will burn out. Like you'll crumble in some way, shape, or form, psychologically, or probably eventually your joints and your connective tissue, your tendons, etc. You'll injure yourself, or you'll be so damn sore. And I've done this before. Jordan actually did this, pushed too hard. This was last year.
Okay.
This was all known on his site. He went through the same thing that I went through many years ago. Literally, his whole body was inflamed. And you'll see videos where he's just coaching Corin through their training, because he pushed himself so hard and just kept on going, thinking he could remedy it with BPC 157 and curcumin and various ways to kind of counter the inflammation. And it didn't happen. He had to take a step back. It killed him to do it psychologically, because he loves to go in the gym and attack.
Yeah.
But he was able to climb out of that hole. So that's psychologically what some people can handle. The other way, the other end of the spectrum, are those that realize there has to be some progressive overload, which you're going to need to monitor in a logbook. Not everyone does. You can do this in a very rudimentary way, which I did for many, many years, and I can talk about too. But you can if you have a good memory, you can do this, as long as you're honest with yourself. And just have core lifts on certain days in your training regime, in your weekly split or biweekly split, however you conjure things. It doesn't have to be that you use a 5-way split over a week.
Yeah.
You could have, a push-pull legs that, rotates every 5 days with 2 off days in there, so that you don't end up training like legs every Monday and chest every Thursday or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you could have within that training rotation certain days where you progressively overload and certain days where you don't. A heavy light day, let's say. Heavy day, you progressively overload. Your light day, you go lighter on the loads. You focus on your form. You're still training as hard as you can, but you're not looking at the logbook and trying to move those numbers upward.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very nice, basic, easy way to do that.
Okay.
So for another way that I've set up in fortitude training, this is where I talk about the daily undulating periodization, is with 3 different set types.
Yeah.
And the loading sets in fortitude training are the straight sets, progressive overload, very similar to DC training. I've got zigzagging, which is a little bit different in there, but still, those are the sets. Like, you got the logbook looking at you, that's your enemy right there, or your friend, your partner in crime, so to speak. Your partner in muscle crimes is the logbook, in this case, when it comes to the loading sets. The muscle rounds, same thing. You're trying to progress, but you've got some flexibility in there. You can progress where you're filling in the 4th set of a muscle round. You can progress where you're filling in the 6th set. You can allow yourself to increase reps with the same load, so you fill in the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th before you then increase the load. You can pick loads that you first fail in the 6th, and then just keep moving the load up, so you start eventually failing in the 5th and the 4th. If you really want to move the load up quickly, you can do that. Some people who just like to get really aggressive with the loading can do it that way. So that's all progressive overload. As long as you come back and look at an exercise, say it's an incline Smith press, and you were doing muscle rounds, failing in the 4th with 245s on each side. In January of 2019 and January of 2020, you come back, and now you're using 245s and a 25 each side. You added extra 25 on each side, and same Smith machine, etc.
Yeah.
And you're filling in the 4th set of 6 in a muscle round. That's progression.
Yeah.
How you got there, how you sort of wove your way through the progressive overload, is a function of what suits your mindset. So it's the psychological and the physiological coming together.
Okay.
So, and then in fortitude training, I've got pump sets, which are we've talked about those before. Those are fun. Those are like isolation, get the pump. Literally, you can pretend like I'm getting ready to go on stage. If I had to pump up my chest, because what would I do?
Yeah.
I got like 90 seconds to get the best pump possible during the course of this set.
Yeah.
How can I make that happen?
Yeah.
Don't worry about the reps, whatever. Just make it. Just go for it.
And that's something that's like the opposite of stressful. You know, that's like just pure, easy, lighthearted lifting in the gym.
Well,
you know,
some people find those to be the most brutal. Actually,
do they really?
Because they're higher rep sets. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some data when you look at people use the term fatigue. It's not my favorite, but when you look at sort of the inroads into recovery, the extent to which your perceived recovery status would go down, higher rep sets can whack people pretty bad.
Okay.
Especially if they're intermittent, like a Widowmaker.
Yeah.
Would you rather do 3 sets of 10 to failure or 3 Widowmakers to failure?
Whew. Yeah.
What's going to whack you the more? 3 Widowmakers in the 20 rep range, roughly.
That's different than a pump set.
It's different than intentionally, very much intentionally, yes.
Yeah.
So, but even with those pump sets, like just because if you're on like a leg press, and you're just doing partials, like, partially your way out until you get down to a safe failure spot and climb out of the machine, those will still destroy you, depending on the person.
Yeah. It's funny because, when I look at that, I don't get any anxiety about doing something like that. No. Versus I think of trying to get in there and beat the best I've ever done, which was last time I trained. That starts getting a little bit scarier. That's a little bit more stressful to me.
Because you have to be careful too that you're not losing your form.
Yes.
Not doing things that, like, we talked about this before we came on. You're not creating an increased risk for injury because you're getting all crazy trying to beat the logbook at all costs.
Yeah.
When the point is to beat the logbook, so that over time means a greater evoked stimulus for increasing muscle mass, assuming you're eating enough and recovering properly.
Yeah.
The idea is not just to beat the logbook. It's not like you beat the logbook. The number is, if it's a higher number, a higher weight, reps or weight wise, that doesn't mean the muscle just goes on. It's not like, you just all of a sudden, poof, there it is.
Yeah.
That has to reflect an enhanced stimulus, or a stimulus that is keeping pace with the adaptation that you're making during your recovery.
Yeah. So
if you recovered well and now your capability, your performance capacity in the gym is such that you can, instead of use 225, you can use 235, you should do 235.
Right.
And for X number of reps. Because that is what you're going to, if you stay with 225, eventually that doesn't become a stimulus anymore that evokes any more greater adaptation.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's still a whole different thing. So for someone like, psychologically speaking, you can wreck yourself. You can either create an injury risk potential if you're just shooting for being in the logbook at all costs, or it just becomes so like such a chore that it's like, this is just not fun anymore. Like this is not what it's not what I signed up for. I like to train hard.
Yeah.
But all the time, constantly, the logbook's always there. Some people relish that.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, here's an example that maybe some people like Big Dave Smith would probably be able to recognize this quite well, because he does jiu-jitsu, who rolls. He's a martial artist.
Right.
So imagine if every time you went into the dojo, whatever your martial art would be, and you had a match. Like every time it was a match, like literally, win or lose, that was what you did. Or 2 matches. There was no practice. There was no rolling. There was no technique work.
Yeah.
Whatever. It was always a match. You're like, oh my God. Like, I don't know who I'm going to meet. Like, you're entering the octagon every time, and it's like a Chuck Norris flick or something where you live or die. There's like no, like, we're going to have an easy day or light day or work on, holds or new maneuvers. Eventually you would want to go back. Some people would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, who would like just absolute animals, they like Dusty likes to train that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even he needs to have cruises in DC training. So, in fortitude training, I have it set up. This is why I think people like it, is that you've got the loading sets or progressive overload. I think that's just an essential component. Muscle rounds, you can choose the exercise. So you can rotate through those such that you might not do an exercise for months until you come back to it. You look in your logbook like, I think I could beat that. Chances are, if you're doing everything right up until that point, otherwise you will.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh shit, I don't know if I just want to get one more rep. This is going to be a bitch. I just did that last week. It's like, no, I've gained 7 pounds, or I've gained 5 pounds since I did that 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And I know I've gotten stronger on all my leg movements. I'm going to just decimate that load. I'm going to just destroy that.
Huh.
It makes it fun.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that makes sense, and I can relate to that too. That in my own training, I've been training using the same stuff every week. And when I would go to the gym, I would use the same equipment as that I would use at home, more or less, same exercises. And then I wanted to do something different, so I went to the gym. I use some machines out at a gym that I don't go to as often anymore. It used to be my main gym. And I use some exercises, some machines that I hadn't used in a long time. I've gotten so much stronger that like what I could have gotten, I think on one selectorized machine, I was getting like 110 pounds, 120, maybe 130 if I was really pushing. And now I was doing sets with like 170 on that same machine. So, you know, the strength has definitely changed. And yeah, I guess I was pushing to my max in that exercise, but it wasn't nearly as stressful as going back to like the dumbbell incline press, which is like the thing that I keep pounding against and the thing that's gotten me stronger.
In that sense, it's positive reinforcement. You know you're going to go and beat previous best.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I wonder how much stronger I've gotten.
Yeah.
It's not like I might win, I might lose. You know, I'm going to really have to go for it if I want to get an extra rep or use an extra plate. But no, I'm going to just kick this thing's ass.
Now, if I do change that, so let's say, you know, I've been pounding my head up against the dumbbell incline press. Now I go to the gym, I do this other exercise. I definitely beat my previous best on it. But am I deloading in any way? I'm giving myself that mental break. But am I getting, you know, it's like, I wonder, I don't feel like I'm necessarily getting as much of a physical break. Like I guess I'm curious, at the end of the day, the thing I really am concerned about is if every time we train in movement, we're progressively getting better and better at it, there has to be that point of not getting better at it. And that's that point where, like, you know, you've broken down in some way. I want to avoid that breakdown, I guess. I want to figure out better how to avoid that.
That's where an overarching training periodization scheme is important, where you have some sort of a deload or, a rinse and repeat type of thing, where the recovery has gotten poor. I use the perceived recovery scale. We can maybe throw that up later. I've got one on my computer someplace. Okay. It's just like a 0 to 10 scale. It's with Likert verbal anchors, like excellent recovery. Once you can get too low. You know this when you get up or when you go in the gym, you can make the measurement. You're like, you know what, I'm going to have to pull back. Okay. So you pull back at some point in time. So that is going to have like an overarching effect on your recovery, regardless of what you're doing.
Yeah. So
here's the way I've set up in fortitude training. You can do these things differently, but this kind of gets at what you're talking about. So when you do a daily undulating periodization with different rep ranges, there's an interaction amongst all of those stimuli to some degree. So I mentioned this, I think it was on this podcast, where when you get stronger with the heavier loading sets, the heavier training, that makes the lighter stuff feel even lighter.
Yeah.
So you're using, 5 plates on a squat. When you drop down to 275, go from 495 to 275. 275 feels like nothing because you've worked your way up to those really, really heavy loads. Whereas when you're done high rep sets, let's say Widowmakers with 275, then that fatigue, that the effort you have to put forth to push through a set like that just like blindingly difficult, makes the fatigue that you feel, the muscular endurance fatigue, related fatigue that you feel during a set of 8 to 10, not so bad anymore.
Yeah.
So there is to a certain degree a muscle endurance adaptation that comes from higher reps that will play a role in the heavier training. And there's a neurological phenomenon, at least, not to mention the fact that if you're getting more muscle mass, it's going to carry over to all your lifts.
Yeah.
That comes from the heavier training, which will probably have at least a psychological effect on those lighter loads because they feel like feathers now.
Yeah, yeah.
What you've been moving. So then So that's the interaction between the loading of a heavier and lighter loads. There's also changing the exercises. So if you've been doing incline dumbbell presses, then you go to like some sort of a incline machine, hammer strength, something like that. You get a different activation pattern. It's still working the upper chest, but it's machine. The loading curve is different. The balance is different. The activation pattern is going to be different. You could do those incline presses as hard as you possibly can and be getting whatever amount of soreness you sort of leveled out at in doing those on a regular basis. And then you go and you train just as hard. Your perceived exertion is just as hard. Your reps reserve, if you play with that psychological measurement, is the same, but you'll get much more sore from the novelty. Most people will, at least, especially if you get sore just in general, of doing that new exercise.
Yeah.
So that means it's a new stimulus in my mind, at least. We've talked about this here too. That's the novelty of stimulus that makes that first time you go in the gym and train, if you've had a layoff, something you want to be careful of because you get so sore. That's where people get rhabdo. Because athletes that come in and the coaches are pissed because they haven't been doing their off-season training and they just run them through the ringer, and then they, third of the team ends up at the hospital.
Yeah,
that kind of shit, which happens,
Yeah.
So, but you can get more and more sore. So you get in one sense by changing exercises like that, having just some variety. Let's say you do that in a way that you auto-regulate. So you say, you know what? I think I would still like to do an incline press movement. And you go into that gym and you're like, you get on a Smith machine and you're like, nah, I still like that. Just feels like I'm still like that. I'm still tender there. It doesn't feel right. But you get on that fly incline, like maybe there's an incline fly, like one of those swiveling, like Flex has had one, like it's a converging fly press machine, maybe something like that. It's an incline.
Yeah.
Like this feels good. I feel strong here. I know it's hitting my upper chest, but it feels right. So now you get novelty of stimulus, and you also allow for some recovery, I would say, because of how it feels from those movements that you've been doing on a regular basis. So if you had gone 5 weeks, let's say, doing incline dumbbell presses, and then you did a 6th week where you're like, fuck, this one's really getting I really could use a break from incline dumbbell presses. And in one scenario, you do the 6th week, you come back that 7th week and try to do them again, you're like, I made a mistake. Shouldn't have done those incline presses. I should have moved away from that exercise. Versus you still train, but you do a different exercise. When you come back in that 7th week, having done that just 1 week of a different exercise, you'll probably not have that same sense of like, whew, I should have taken a break. This has been my empirical experience personally and working with people.
Yeah.
So you basically, you've incline press week, 5, 6 weeks in a row, and all of a sudden you take a week off. You get a novel stimulus because it's a new exercise,
right?
Which is going to promote growth. But you also get to step away from that exercise that you've been doing so regularly now that it's one you probably need to step away from, and come back to it again because you rotated around it. So there's something to say for, and you could do this with DC training. It's 3 exercises. There's other reasons for that rotate through. You can do like a heavy light day with different exercises on those days. Or, with fortitude training, you've got a 3-way rotation on your heavy loading sets. And then the muscle rounds are chosen kind of the way I just described it, is you go in and you pick the exercise based on how you feel on that day. So it could just be because of the accumulating fatigue and soreness that you have in, let's say, your upper chest on a given week, that one time you go and, today I'm going to use the incline. The incline Smith feels great for doing a muscle round. In another scenario, because of where you are in your training blast, how your diet's been, maybe work you've been doing around the house, anything else, it might be that Smith just doesn't feel right. Maybe you had something weird go on with an overhead press, and now you've got bicipital impingement, which I know you tend to have. And that just is like immediately a red flag for the incline Smith. So you do something else. You do a cable fly as a muscle round. So you pick on the fly, pardon the pun, the exercise that feels like it's going to be target where you want. It may be that you don't do any incline press because there's just nothing. It just needs a break. You still could do some pec work. You just choose a little bit different angle. So you auto-regulate the exercise to give yourself a break to some degree from that same groove that you've been in week after week after week.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So then you've got combining all these things by choosing different exercises as well as working in different rep ranges. So you're like, if we look at it from the perspective of that incline dumbbell press, you're pushing, and then you choose a different exercise and you step back just in the context of that exercise, but you're still progressing overall. The novelty of the new exercise you've chosen, you're still eating enough to make gains, what have you. You've just taken a deload, so to speak, from that one exercise that you then interject back into your program again.
Yeah.
Because you've had some variety, because you've created an exercise rotation, or you're using some sort of auto-regulation to allow yourself to pull away. It doesn't mean you give up on the incline dumbbell presses. It's just you step away from them.
Yeah. Yeah, so, that makes sense. That makes sense, and I could see how that could make a difference. And just having gone to the gym this past week and done different exercises than I was used to, I do feel like that in itself gave me a break, and I'm more excited to come back to the exercises that I love. Just having gotten away from it for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You just like if you come back, like it'd be interesting to see. Maybe you can report back to us.
Yeah.
Next time we do this. If you go back, was it just recently that you stepped away? That you went to the gym? Okay, so
yeah, just my last workout.
Okay, cool. So when you go back, I'm interested to see how that incline dumbbell press feels.
Yeah.
Now that you had a workout away from it,
I can already tell I'm going to feel strong again. You know, I can definitely tell. And the last time I did that, I was back up to my, and that's the reason is because I realized, you know, having been building, going up and up and up, and then it culminated in me feeling just really low. My interest in training went down to zero. My strength had been tapering off. And that lasted for a few weeks. And then toward the end of that, having not even trained, that's when my shoulder went out. So I do feel like that was all kind of tied together. Now I'm back to the point where I've rebuilt. I was able to work back up to what I would consider to be a scary set on the dumbbell incline press. And then from there, I'm like, okay, so now that I hit that, I want to step back a little bit. And so what I did was I went to another gym. I trained away from my home gym. And yeah, I definitely felt kind of reinvigorated. So I think then I'm glad to know I was kind of on the right step. But like I said, too, I wanted to talk about this today because I knew you'd have some good insight for us. And I know that this is something that everybody listening is running into because there are so many more people now who follow the channel that are getting more involved with progressive overload. And it's great to get stronger and stronger each week. But then there's some questions that come up besides how do I lift more? You know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting too, because some people we're bodybuilders. We always want to be progressing in some way, or at least have the sense that we are.
Yeah.
The way I do the progressive blast and the intensive cruise in fortitude training is you move from that of the weekly schedule using daily undulating periodization, loading sets, muscle rounds, pump sets. And then when you do the intensive cruise, it's basically a taper. You drop down your volume. Your frequency goes down a little bit too. So instead of training 4 times a week, you train 3 times a week. If you're on a volume tier 3, you go to 2. If you're on 2, you go to 1. If you're on 1, you just stay with 1, but your frequency goes down. So your overall volume, the volume density, you could call it, goes down because you're training less often. And then you also go to muscle rounds only. So you're getting a taper. So imagine you're squatting, and you're doing 5 sets of squats. And then you have a couple, you do that for 10 weeks, and then you go for 2 weeks, and you just do, you squat twice a week. And instead of squatting twice a week for those last 2 weeks, you do, you squat on a Monday, a Friday, and a Tuesday, and then you wait the rest of the week and you come back. That's if you were tapering in for a meet. That taper in of itself would mean you're stronger. That's just, I toss that as a generic way. So powerlifters will do that in very, very specific ways. Sometimes they'll taper so much that they're just dying to get back on the platform.
Yeah.
They want to train so fucking bad they can't stand it, and that's when they know they'll be really, really strong.
Yeah.
So I taper it, but I also in fortitude training also go to muscle rounds, which means you're moving away from those exercises that you've been really grinding away at for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't do an incline dumbbell press. You do a muscle round with an exercise. Could be free weights. It could be a machine. Free weights as long as it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
That feels right. That doesn't feel like it's tweaking those areas that maybe are getting a little bit overworked, that are heading down the pathway of a chronic injury, chronic overwork injury. Like for you, biceps tendonitis. I get the same thing in my shoulders. So you find something that doesn't even remotely bother that.
Yeah.
And so you get the effect of a taper. You still train hard. You're still doing a muscle round. And you can go back and look at muscle round performances from months ago that you did and probably beat those.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing 3 muscle rounds. You're only doing 2.
And it's been a while, so you're stronger.
And you've been a while, so you're stronger. And you're also tapering too. So you're going to get – so you would see the progression even though you're stepping back from your training to what is sort of it's a deload in terms of the volume.
Yeah.
And the frequency, but you're still maintaining that intensity. So like this kind of comes from the track and field world, various strength and power sports where you maintain the quality of your training. So let's say you're a sprinter, and obviously when you're doing your 100-meter sprint, that's a sprint. It's everything you got. Like there's no you're not pacing yourself for a sprint. These guys are going all out. So when they taper down during the week or 10 days, or however long the taper might be for a given individual athlete, they're not going to maintain the volume of training they've been doing. They'll drop the training volume down, but they're still doing sprints. They're still doing some sprint work.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose those neurological adaptations. It's for sprinting, but you want to be able to make sure you're maintaining that maximal effort mindset, as well as to some degree the ability to do that. So you're still training hard. You're still maintaining the quality of the stimulus in bodybuilding standards, in the bodybuilding context. Still training hard, but you're just avoiding the shit that caused you probably in the first place to have accumulated that quote unquote fatigue, to have had the inroads into your recovery. That means you need to take the break and do the intensive cruise as opposed to blast on and on.
Yeah.
So you step away from that, but you're also going to get stronger. So you'll feel like you're making progress, and then if things work, this has been the coolest thing, is when people who never really have done much of a deload, they follow it's a pretty generic suggestion for fortitude training, but it works really well. They follow it and they come back to blast again, and they look at their logbook and they just destroy their numbers.
That's so cool.
They just blow them away. I've told the story about the mathematician guy who's like, he thought he just couldn't count because he was so pissed because he just blew away. He's like, how come I've gotten so much stronger?
Yeah.
On everything? It's because he kept on eating, and he never really had a break like that. And it was also a novel stimulus for him. So he was a perfect storm of factors to get a really good rebound.
That is really cool.